Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Bitcoin update. Now, today we're going to be discussing the recent short-term move to the upside over the last 24 hours, a big move to the upside, and then a big drop to follow it. Guys, short-term TA has been on the back burner of the important aspects of TA for quite a while now. In fact, for the majority of 2023, short-term TA on Bitcoin has been a bit of a joke. I mean, if we're being realistic, it has. But the medium term and long term has been very reliable, and the medium term and long term looks very good. And this is why I'm making some very big claims in this video in relation to Bitcoin never dropping below for any extended period of time 30K for the rest of this cycle. I believe that to be a reasonable claim to make given the TA we've seen as of right now. I'm also making some claims about Bitcoin reaching a new all-time high next year between April and November, potentially leaning more towards November. So some big claims coming out, and then finally we'll wrap up the video by discussing the Ethereum move, which we'll look at more in depth tomorrow. Guys, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys, so we have a bunch of charts to look at today. Bitcoin charts, Ethereum charts. We've got a news article to look at. We've got monthly returns chart. But before we get into any of that, we need to check out the VIP group on Telegram. If you go down to the link below the description box and you click on the VIP information and results group link, it will take you to this Telegram channel. And this Telegram channel has all of the information for VIP group, including access to the group for a 30-day free trial or through regular payment, and then also every single trading result we've ever had in the VIP group, so over 130 trades in there, and our overall win-loss ratio currently is 80.58%. Absolutely excellent win-loss ratio, absolutely excellent group in general. Lots of perks and bonuses there, so go ahead and check that out if you're interested. Guys, without further ado, let's get into the content. I want to start by making a very, very important point. And you might be confused off the surface level for me making this argument, but I'll make it anyway because I don't care. This is how I see the charts right now. Short-term TA on Bitcoin, short-term analysis on Bitcoin, I'm talking hourly chart, 4-hourly chart, even daily chart to a certain extent, has been so inaccurate that it's barely usable. And I'm dead set serious when I say that. I do not think the short-term TA, ever since March of this year, has been accurate to any degree whatsoever. Yes, on the medium term, the charts make sense, okay? It's not hard to see on medium term charts make sense. For example, we had 24.5K, we had 32K in this green box. We bounced between those levels for a long period of time, tested it for resistance, broke above, bounced for support, resistance, support, broke above. It makes sense on a medium term time frame. But when I'm speaking short term, I'm speaking like zoom in, right? For example, this structure here. You know, an ascending channel formation, a clearly bearish structure, which it did end up being a valid structure because we had 2 retests of the top and 3 retests at the bottom. So a valid bearish structure. You know, we had that ascending channel formation, one of the most bearish structures you can have. In the meantime, as well as having that formation, we also had a rejection from the red horizontal line of the RSI that we haven't broken above for over 3 or 4 years. We also had clear bearish divergence in the RSI. We also had clear descending volume on the daily chart while this uptrend sustained. You know, all of these indicators, you know, representing massive exhaustion, and yet we still managed to break this channel to the upside for no real reason at all. And this is just a very excellent example of how useless the short-term TA has been on Bitcoin for such a long period of time, to the point in which I'm not even going to look at it in this video because I actually don't think it's relevant anymore. I'll speak about it when it starts to be valid again. But what I will say is this. I never completely ruled out, and in fact, I never even slightly ruled out a continuation to the upside because I understood the importance of the level we just broke. What Bitcoin did just a couple of weeks ago was break above 32K. I'm going to make it I'll make it a blue line so you can see it. Actually, I'll make it a green line so you can see it here. We broke above that 32K level on a weekly candle close. While breaking above that 32K level, we also managed to break above in the same stroke, right, the next week, this blue line here, which is a descending resistance line stemming back from 1,000 days ago at the 2021 April top. So it's not a surprise that Bitcoin has continued to the upside here in wake of this long-term huge stuff that's occurred in the long term. It's really not surprising at all. But what I'm saying is, from a shorter-term perspective, if you're looking at short-term TA, it's completely useless to look at. The fact of the matter is the longer-term moves, the longer-term macro has been much more important for Bitcoin this year. I'm not surprised by it, but it is slightly frustrating for a lot of people. I know a lot of traders who are getting chopped out of the market very easily during these short-term moves because the irrationalities and the discrepancies between medium-term and long-term charts and the short-term charts. But look, overall, it's not particularly surprising that we've seen a continuation to the upside, even in wake of the bearish short term. I want to make something very clear, and this is something I've made clear over and over and over again. as I said, we've broken above the 1,000-day resistance line. It's obvious that we weren't going to stop just a little bit higher. We've broken above 32K. We also are making moves, right, against a weak volume profile. What I mean by that is if you look at the volume profile spanning back throughout this entire price range, right, on a macro scale from November 2020, you see that the volume profile descends as we go upwards and higher in price. And especially as we break 32K, the volume profile enters a sharp descent, meaning that the price becomes easier and easier to cut through. We need less and less bullish momentum to cut through the price action because we have less and less historical resistance and hence less and less buying orders in that region. What I will say is this: I think that now Bitcoin, and this is something I've always thought, by the way, now Bitcoin has reached its next major macro level. I've always said this over and over again over the last couple of weeks. This is not new. This is not me changing my opinion. I've always said that above 32K, the next major level sits between around 38K realistically, right? But realistically between somewhere like 37.5 and 39.5. That is the next major level. I always said that. Once we get above 32K, the next level we're going to be testing is around 38K. And that's exactly what we're doing now. And so I would say that in order to break this macro level here between 37.5 and 39.5, we either need a major news event or we need to have actual bullish short-term TA for once in Bitcoin's bloody existence in 2023 in order to get above it. Because I think we've reached our next major zone here. Our previous major zone was the green box down here at 32, which we struggled with for over 7 or 8 months. And now we've reached the next major zone here at 38-ish, 37.5 to 39.5. And so it's not a surprise to see that this recent move, no matter how irrational it was, it's not a surprise to see it reject from that red box here, that critical level that we're looking at now. I believe well and truly that Bitcoin has reached its next major resistance. And what you'll notice, right, if you focus back in on the volume profile once more, is if we get above this red box, okay, look at the volume profile, it completely dips downwards and there's basically nothing above that. So this just goes to show that the volatility Bitcoin is going to be seeing above 39.5K is going to be huge. Once we get above that level, that's going to be a price region in which we're going to be moving very, very rapidly on Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying we haven't moved rapidly. We've already moved rapidly, right? We've moved upwards in a 2-month period, actually exactly 2 months today. We've moved upwards 53%. That's a massive move. That's big. That's rapid. But as per volume profile and as per our historical structures, once we get above 39.5K, there's really nothing here. There's no actual strong resistance here at all. Yeah, there's a few brief little layers of resistance like 42K, 48.5K, but other than that, there's really not much until we reach all-time highs. And what this actually does for us, it's a big thing, right? Because it validates something we've thought for a long period of time. For a very long period of time, years now, actually, to be honest with you, a couple of years, I've said that Bitcoin is very likely to reach an all-time high sometime between April 2024 and November 2024, based on these two developing trends. Now, the first trend is this. The first trend is, generally speaking, it takes 1,100 days from previous all-time high to break that all-time high. That's happened twice. And then also another trend is, and they're developing trends, they're not actual trends yet, but they are backed by the 4-year cycle, which does give us an extra degree of confidence in them. And the second trend is, from the bottom to the peak before the halving, we generally see about a 350% gain. And if we see a 350% gain from now until the halving in April, that would bring us to an all-time high as well. So I believe well and truly that Bitcoin will be reaching a new all-time high between April and November next year, probably leaning towards November if I'm honest. And so that means the Bitcoin will reach 70K between April and November next year. So within the next year, within the next 12 months, I think Bitcoin will be reaching an all-time high. And I think that is validated by the fact that we only really have one more critical level before there's nothing left on the volume profile to stop us from reaching that all-time high. So do I think that Bitcoin's going to skyrocket even further to the upside over the next couple of days? I think it's unlikely, to be honest with you. I think that this move is exhausted now. And I know I said that before, but I didn't say it with any degree of confidence before. I want you to really understand what I actually said before, the claims I was making in the previous week here. I was making claims that Bitcoin is in a bearish structure with bearish momentum, but this structure, this market pattern was not valid yet, and hence I was actually on the fence. But realistically now, as we head towards major resistance, it's very hard to be bullish at major resistance. And so I would say that right now I am I'm looking at this being a local top for Bitcoin, to be quite honest with you. I think that we will see a correction of some sort from this price region. I'll be surprised if we didn't, to be honest with you. But look, At the same time, it's a similar situation to what we saw over here. We don't really have any market patterns that have formed yet. This move is too fresh, it's too recent. We don't really have any market patterns that have formed yet, and so it's hard to be precise in our predictions there, especially considering what I've made a point I've made in this video already, especially considering how unreliable short-term TA has been. But what I will say is this, regardless of predictions, because predictions right now are kind of going out the window a little bit, regardless of predictions, we are reaching a major macro resistance level here at 37.5 to 39.5k after a 53% move to the upside with no real correction. Being bullish here would be ridiculous. Okay, I just want to say that. But long term, of course I'm bullish long term. I've always been bullish long term, and especially since the break to 32k. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Just looking at some of the progress here on Bitcoin, we had I like to simplify Bitcoin on a macro scale quite easily. This is the bull market territory, this is the bear market territory, and this is the line in the sand. Right, this green box is the line in the sand that divides for two. We've very powerfully jumped above that green box now. It's very, very unlikely we'll go below that green box. I do not believe Bitcoin will see sub 30k again for years, potentially even ever. And I'm very confident about that. I don't think the Bitcoin will see sub 30k unless something really dramatic happens. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's needed. But look, and total cryptocurrency market cap has done the same thing. Massive bull market territory over here, massive bear market territory, broken above that level that previously acted as resistance for a little bit. It was a bit of a bear case forming, but we've conquered that quite nicely. I would say as well, there's no real resisting. Apologies. There's no actual proper surviving bear case left. There's speculation in regards to traditional markets dragging Bitcoin down, but we addressed that in yesterday's video. And I don't think that's as real as people think it is. And I think it's very nuanced as well. I highly recommend you watch that video. But as per charts, Bitcoin's broken everything. You know what I mean? As per charts, how can you be bearish? We've been bottomed out for literally 365 days, and we're literally 143% above the bottom. It's like, to be bearish here on a macro scale is just, it's just dumb, to be honest with you. There's no evidence for it. We have trends that have never broken, like the Gaussian channel trend. This is a trend that basically suggests that every time we move into the Gaussian channel, or move through the center line of the Gaussian channel more specifically, we move through in that direction significantly. So we move through the center line to the downside, we move through the channel to the downside, move through the center line, saw an upwards move, move through the center line, saw a downwards move. It happens over and over again. That's 3 occasions, that's 4 occasions, 5 occasions during COVID, 6 occasions, 7 occasions. This is the 8th occasion. So 7 for 7. It's 100% accuracy over the entire price history of Bitcoin, that when we see a move through the center line of the Gaussian channel, you see a significant upside move as a result of it. We can also look historically and see that in the previous 2 kind of mid markets or bear markets, whatever you want to call them, right, between the bull market and the next bull market, what we see is that Bitcoin loses the Gaussian channel, it forms the low, it gets above the center line, and it never drops below it again until the bear market. That happened in 2017, right? We got above the Gaussian channel here in 2015. We saw the entire bull market only drop below it again during the bear market. Same thing in 2021, minus the COVID drop. Obviously, we can discount the COVID drop because it's a black swan event. We moved through it in 2018, 2019. We would have held it if it wasn't for COVID. And we went all the way up and we only dropped below it during the bear market. Guess what, guys? We're above the Gaussian channel after being below it for the bear market. We've broken above the center line back here in 2023 March. And if history stands the test of time, we should not be dropping back below it until after the bull market, until post-top in 2025, and probably dropping below it in 2026. So on a macro scale, Bitcoin is more than healthy. But, that's not to say we're not going to see corrections. For example, 3-day RSI, we have a very decisive resistance line downtrending on the RSI, showing us that we will see, probably going to be seeing a retest of that at some point, rejection that will lead to a significant correction as it has done in the past. It wouldn't be surprising. There are definitely things, as I said, even looking back to 37.5k to 39.5k, it's our major macro resistance zone. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a rejection from this level going down to retest lower levels, even 32k, consolidation, maybe even dropping below it briefly. I know I said before, I don't think we'll drop below 30k. But I think, maybe briefly we do something like that. It's definitely on the table. The point I'm saying is, as long as Bitcoin, I'm talking very briefly here, as long as Bitcoin maintains this green box for support, as long as Bitcoin does not break back into this range, right, below the green box, between 30k and 32k, as long as Bitcoin maintains about that level, there is no valid reason to be macro bullish, because that is the macro line in the sand. That is the macro dividing line. And so what I mean when I say I don't think Bitcoin will drop below 30k again, What I'm technically saying is I don't think Bitcoin will break below this macro line in the sand. I don't think it has to do that, and I think if it did do it, it would be very bad news. But yeah, to act like there's no resistance right here is ridiculous. We obviously have that major red box here, as I've discussed multiple times. We also have Ethereum reaching major resistance. Now, Ethereum skyrocketed today, and that's because we saw BlackRock, which is obviously the biggest hedge fund in the world, I'm pretty sure, if not the second biggest. It might be Vanguard, maybe BlackRock's bigger, I'm not sure. It's one of those two. But essentially, they filed for an iShares Ethereum trust, and basically, when they did that with Bitcoin, within 7 days, they filed for a Bitcoin ETF application. So this is big news, and obviously it led to Ethereum being up 11% on the daily candle, while Bitcoin was only up a few percent. So Ethereum skyrocketed. It's broke above its descending channel formation it had in red here. Again, TA predicts everything at the end of the day. You know, we have these news events that justify big moves, but in reality, TA predicted this. You know, we have this descending channel formation. It broke to the upside. Of course, we're going to see a move to the upside. TA predicts everything, but the FA, the fundamental events, just exaggerate how fast the moves occur from it. And we've seen a move right up. Right up here to 2100 on Ethereum, which is where we saw resistance on multiple occasions. And this is kind of Ethereum's macro line in the sand. Like Bitcoin's is at 32K. Ethereum's level in the sand is kind of here. I'll make it green at around 2130. So it's interesting to see Ethereum at, precisely at resistance right now. Perhaps that materializes into a Bitcoin and Ethereum correction. It wouldn't surprise me, considering we're seeing a test of the macro resistance box on Bitcoin as well. All I'm saying is I don't think it's good to be chasing longs right now. I know we've seen massive moves to the upside, but I don't think you should be chasing longs after a 53% move without a serious correction in 2-month period. I don't think you should be chasing longs while we're at major resistance. And even though I think short-term TA is basically useless right now, I still don't think you should be chasing longs in wake of bearish short-term TA, because that's just gambling at that point. So guys, tomorrow I'm actually going to focus very in depth on Ethereum, because I think Ethereum's been seeing some interesting stuff. We've got some macro trends to discuss on Ethereum. So tomorrow we'll discuss that quite in-depthly. One more thing I want to talk about is November on monthly returns chart. We do know that monthly returns chart is a real thing in regards to the fact that, historically speaking, Octobers have generally been bullish for Bitcoin. Historically speaking, Septembers have generally been bearish for Bitcoin. Historically speaking, Aprils have generally been good for Bitcoin. Now, Novembers have been mixed. So there's no real bullish or bearish November. They've been mixed, but they've almost always been extremely volatile. So they've almost always been double-digit gains. We've only seen two Novembers historically with single-digit gain or losses. Every single other one has been double digits. So right now we're up 5% for November, and the volatility we've seen so far in this month is very typical of what we generally see in November, and I would expect to see more volatility to come. So no particular bias in terms of bullish or bearish here, but I'm certainly expecting volatility to continue. And it's great to see Bitcoin making these macro gains here. But, I do want to make people aware that we are at resistance now, and just ground yourself in reality a little bit, because it's not going to be all upwards. We aren't at that point in the cycle yet. Unfortunately, we are not in a bull market yet. Unfortunately, the bull market only starts after the halving. We still have 5 months until that occurs. But as I've said before, I do believe that next year we'll be seeing all-time highs on Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean we have to see only up from here. It really doesn't. We've seen how quickly Bitcoin can move. Bitcoin can move upwards 53% in a 2-month period. And it's not even bull market, right? We can do that again. If we moved up 53% in a 2-month period again, we'd be all the way up here by January, start of January, we'll be up at 56K. So we've got plenty of time. As I said before, the macro trends only really justify an all-time high break between, let's draw it out, between April and November, probably leaning more towards November. But if it was April, we'd have to move up very quickly. If it was November, we've still got a very reasonable amount of time to move upwards. And realistically, by the end of November, it's actually looking at December 1st. We've still got a very reasonable time to move upwards here to break all-time high on Bitcoin. So there's no rush. We will probably see corrections. There's no doubt about that. So stay grounded in reality. That's the overall message. Guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let's check out the Bingx and Bitget exchange. For example, Bingx is an exchange that's global, non-KYC. You can sign up from anywhere in the world with just an email address and a password. Bitget is global KYC. You can sign up from anywhere in the world, excluding the USA, and you can KYC on there. Both very low trading fees, both very secured exchanges with very good track records. Neither of them been hacked. We've got a 15% trading fee discount on both exchanges. Sign up using my referral link to which one you want to use, and check that out below. Get on a good exchange and help your channel. Again, a 15% trading fee discount using my referral link. So that's big stuff there. That will add up to be thousands of dollars over a long period of time. We've also got the Crypto Academy, which is a Become a Trader 10-unit course. It's in the title. The name of the course is literally Become a Trader. So if you do this course, you will have the skills to become a trader, a professional trader, a hobby trader, whatever you want to do with it. All the knowledge is there in this course. Check the website out below and throw us an email at the email address listed on the webpage. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.